Human Rights Watch says Meta has silenced posts in support of Palestine on Instagram and Facebook. It says the suppression is systemic and global, amounting to what seems to be the largest wave of censorship of content about Palestine to date. The rights group reviewed 1,050 cases of online censorship from more than 60 countries. They were largely in English. Nearly all of them featured peaceful content in support of Palestine. The organisation says that in more than 300 cases, users were unable to appeal Meta's removal of content or accounts effectively. It's identified 6 patterns of censorship: content removal, suspension or permanent disabling of accounts, and restrictions on liking, commenting, sharing or reposting. It's also found restrictions on tagging or following other accounts, limited use of certain Meta features, and shadow banning users. That means significant drop in the visibility of a user's post, stories and account. Well, Noureddine Miladi joins us now from Doha. He's Professor of Media and Communications at Qatar University. Thank you very much for joining us. So what do you make of this? There have long been allegations and complaints about this kind of behaviour from Meta. What do you make of this latest piece of research?
Well, I think this is the culmination of a systematic pressure from around the world, especially policymakers in the West, and in addition to the Israeli government, on social media platforms like Meta and X and others. Unfortunately, Meta has been, in the last few months, and especially after 2021, the Sheikh Jarrah events in Jerusalem, had been placing a very, very obvious systematic way of controlling and monitoring anything related to Palestine, anything related to Palestinian content. And what we've been listening or hearing from activists or from academics or from social media organizations around the world about Meta censoring their content. And I think now we've seen it documented by Human Rights Watch. And unfortunately, this is another way of caving in to the pressure from the Israeli government specifically. This is dangerous. This is unprecedented. For Meta to come to this way of controlling content. And this definitely will affect the image, not only of Meta, but also other social media platforms where Palestinian content is controlled, where free speech is actually monitored and also censored. So this sends really a big alarm. This sends a reverberation, in my opinion, from around the world. And I hope Meta will take initiatives in the future to do some justice to the Palestinian content, to do some justice to the Palestinian people who every day now we've been seeing the atrocities, the bombardment of their land, of the infrastructure in Gaza and in the West Bank, in other parts of Palestine. So let's hope that this will be a phase, and let's hope that we come to normality soon, and let's hope that the international pressure will mount on social media networks, because honestly it's now thanks to social media networks that in addition to Al Jazeera and some other international channels, that we are hearing and watching and witnessing the atrocities in Gaza. But otherwise, probably all of those atrocities would have been uncovered, would have been without a witness.
You mentioned the issue of Sheikh Jarrah in 2021 and the similar story surrounding the attempted forced removal of Palestinians from their homes in occupied East Jerusalem then. I was reporting from Jerusalem at the time, and I remember Israeli activists were talking about posts inciting violence or supporting Hamas and defending these sorts of bans on those grounds. But what's interesting about this research, whatever you make of those allegations at that time, Human Rights Watch has said that 1,049 of these instances, of the 1,050 that it considered, they were all peaceful. So it gives Facebook and Instagram less room, really, to argue that this is warranted.
No, absolutely. But this means that any Palestinian content now, whether it is peaceful or not peaceful, in a way, is considered by Meta, is considered by the Israeli government, is considered by some of the policymakers around the world who've been putting pressure on Meta that it is not allowed. And this probably will, by the way, will probably put pressure on other social media networks to also probably in the future, like X, for example, to take some similar measures. This also probably will put some pressure on other, let's say, newspapers or global channels like television channels to also censor Palestinian content. So this is really a dangerous step, and I think human rights organizations like Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, and many others, I think they are doing the right thing, and in my opinion, they should raise the alarm. They should talk about this measure as against free speech, against the basic human rights of revealing the true accounts of the atrocities, of the genocide that is happening not only in Gaza, but in all Palestinian land, on all Palestinian people, including Jerusalem.
What does this say about content moderation more broadly? Because obviously Twitter, now X, has seen its content moderating ability hugely, hollowed out since the takeover by Elon Musk. And people have, in some ways, been praising the fact that Meta and others do still have content moderators who are trying to police what's going on. But it does, on the one hand, you have almost a Wild West of anything going. And on the other hand, you have the issue of who really judges what is appropriate and what isn't. I mean, it's a bit of a minefield for these companies to pick their way through.
No, I'm sure it is problematic. Definitely, if I am a person, for example, who is in the control room of Meta or X, probably I will be facing huge pressure from both sides. From, for example, Israeli lobbies who are trying to censor every form of Palestinian content, and also from the rest of the world who is supportive of the Palestinian narrative to provide a free speech platform. So certainly, if I am one of those in that position, I would be facing a lot of pressure. But certainly, I mean, I would also be fair in terms of moderating the content. Yes, we do refute every form of content that proposes condoning terrorism or what have you. But at the same time, I mean, what you've just mentioned is a peaceful content about Palestine, about demonstrations, about showing support to the Palestinian narrative itself without necessarily showing support, for example, to Hamas or any other military group. So this is where the concern is really. So I think the bottom line, in my opinion, which Meta and all the social media platforms should take into consideration is supporting the basic human rights of Palestinians is not wrong. And it shouldn't be considered as anti-Zionist, and it shouldn't be considered as anti-Jew or anti-Israeli. This is a basic human right that should be condoned. That's a basic human right that should be preserved in a way. And any other form of let's say, suggesting anti-Jewish sentiment, obviously it should be censored. Any other form of suggesting causing havoc between ethnicities and communities should be also censored. But here we are talking about the basic free rights of supporting what is happening to the Palestinians in Gaza, in West Bank, in Jerusalem, in all other parts of Palestine. I mean, we see it now every day. Palestinians are put in cages in Jerusalem. Palestinians are put in cages in West Bank. Palestinians are put in cages in Gaza. Their lives is exterminated. Their humanity is exterminated. So if I am talking to you about these atrocities, I should be allowed this platform on every form of legal kind of social media network.
Noureddine Miladi from Doha, from Qatar University, thank you very much for your analysis.
Thank you for inviting me.